We currently do not have the financial ability and the scientific knowledge to proceed in innovating to better our environment. For now, we have to focus on gathering resources that will help our nation's economy advance. We therefore ask the developed nations to take lead in addressing changes and achieving the goals we seek regarding the environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, the delegate of the developed nations, you may take the floor.
Thanks, Chair. Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, this delegate would like to speak on behalf of developed countries. We are willing to help developing countries not only financially but also technically. Moreover, we already started to research for sustainable development to reduce climate change. Therefore, we urge developing countries to listen us to solve environmental problems in order to protect the earth. We also want developing countries to recognize the vast amount of negative results which are caused by environmental problems. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate, for your statements. Now we understand the positions of both parties. Would any side like to propose any solutions to this agenda? Yes? The developing nations, you may take the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. We, as the delegation of the developing nations, would like to suggest that we place taxes on carbon emissions, since they are the factor that contributes most to the global climate change. We believe that the developed nations should manage the tax money and later invest them in scientific research to develop technologies that produce less carbon gas emissions.
Thank you, delegate. Is there any other delegates wishing to speak? Yes, the delegate of developed nations, you may take the floor.
We can provide you a technology for low carbon development, which is quite valuable and costly. This will reduce carbon emission, this will reduce natural catastrophe, and this will reduce governmental cost, which is used to restore natural damage. Therefore, we'd like you to certain amount of the profit, for example 10% for 7 years, and we can promise you that money will not be used for our private purpose, but will use to assist solving other global problems. And what we want to ask is that, are you sure that you can make our support useful and do not use financial resources for other purpose?
We understand that it is very costly to invest technologies that emit less carbon dioxide. And we also understand that why you would like to collect money from us for the technologies. However, we cannot accept the fact, this statement, because as a developing nation, we have the right to industrialize and prosper. In addition, our nations have suffered a series of droughts and floods. Many of our people are in poverty due to these disasters, and we are the results of global climate change. We have the responsibility to take care of our people, and it is our priority at the moment.
Thank you. We understand your stance, but we cannot understand why you are not able to spend time on innovating to prevent further climate change. We can only improve the situation when all the countries are involved in this project. Also, developed countries are trying to reduce environmental problems, and they put a lot of efforts. If developing countries keep trying to industrialize, it will deteriorate the situation. Moreover, it will affect your countries since it will promote to sea level to rise and natural resources will be reduced. Therefore, if you do not care about environment more deeply, it may give serious damage to your countries.
Thank you, delegates. As we don't have much time, we won't have a coffee break, and we'll just move on to the next formal session. In this session, delegates have to negotiate a solution to the agenda, which means that each delegate has to debate upon the ideas mentioned in the previous formal session. Now, is there any other delegates wishing to speak? Yes, the delegate of developing nations, you may take the floor.
First of all, we believe you are mistaken. We are not saying that we do not care about the environment. We do care, and we are the ones who are the most affected with floods, droughts, and typhoons, and other natural disasters that were not so common in the past. What we are trying to say is that we are not in the position to invest a lot of money and effort into developing new technologies. As we have mentioned before, our priority is to help our people achieve higher standards of living. Many of our nations are willing to provide some funding, and we agree that taxes on carbon emissions, we are proposing that we use the tax money to fund those research projects. We hope that you are understanding of this and consider our position.
Thank you, Delegate. Is there any delegate wishing to speak? Yes, the Delegate of Developed Nations.
And thank you. And we understand your stance. We are pleased to hear that you are willing to cooperate us. Unfortunately, our states cannot completely yield to your proposal. Instead, we will amend our previous solution. How about give us 5% of profits for 7 years? Actually, as you know, most of funds are used to develop less and developing countries. We just want to keep the funds to help you for emergency situation. So will you accept this proposal?
Yes, thank you, Delegate. Is there any delegate wishing to speak? Developing Nations, you may speak.
Thank you, Ms. Chair and honorable delegates, for your new proposal. We are glad to accept. We will accept this new offer of yours, but on one condition. We ask that you place taxes only on carbon emissions rather than on fossil fuels. We have many states that are dependent on oil and coal for exporting, and so in order for these countries to continue to develop and later take a more active role in this project, they need to keep their industry strong.
Thank you all delegates for the fruitful debate and finalizing the negotiation. The consensus has reached out. The developing nation will provide 5% of their certain profits for 7 years, while the developed nations has promised to provide natural resources. Truly, this is what we need to do and must do. Not just focusing on each one's perspectives, but solving the problem by understanding nation's idea and taking both advantages and disadvantages at the same time. Although the conference is not held in a similar state with a real conference, however, we have learned what multilateral diplomacy is and how nations have to work out the problem in this agenda. And thank you, and now we will adjourn this meeting.